Hello everyone, welcome back to another film review. My name is Adam, and in today's episode we're going to be talking about Steven Spielberg's 1975 film Jaws, celebrating its 50th anniversary this year. Now, as of recording this video, next month there'll be a new 4K release with a new documentary included in that release, which will premiere next month on the Disney Plus channel. Now, in today's episode we'll be taking a look at the 2012 Blu-ray edition, as well as talking about all the other home releases that have come since 1975. Jaws stars Roy Scheider, Robert Shaw and Richard Dreyfuss, and on a budget of just $9 million, which is quite laughable in today's terms, it made over $470 million in global box office takings. It made Universal its #1 top-selling film up to that date. In fact, Jaws was the very first film to surpass in cinema history the $100 million mark in box office takings. It's also the first film that is kind of labeled as the summer blockbuster and gave Universal a #1 hit for many years and decades to come. Now, there's a lot to be said about Jaws, and in this episode, I'm not going to be talking about the production or the pre-production, because that is covered in so many documentaries on these releases that there's no point. Everybody has seen this film, and everybody has seen those documentaries, and everybody knows the stories. This film, Jaws, is in the #1 top 10 list of a lot of people's favourite films. Judging by just the box office takings alone, when it hit cinemas in 1975, it was a massive global success. And it's one of those films that's had over 21 home media releases, and that's what we're going to be talking about in this video, as well as the legacy of Jaws. Like, why is this film so popular? It fits into so many categories of genre: thrillers, suspense, horror, adventure, but yet it hasn't got a single label attached to it, and it is only a PG film. So can it be classed as a horror if it's a PG? So we're going to be talking about the legacy of the film, why is it so good, as well as the home media releases. Now, the music for Jaws is probably 50% of this film. By John Williams, it's an iconic classic score. Everybody knows, as soon as you start going doo-doo, everybody knows that Jaws theme. It's so simplistic and yet so recognizable. As well as that, Jaws in itself is a simplistic film, and if you look and compare it to today's films, the end credits are only about 2 minutes long, and there's only one person dedicated to the special effects of that film. Even though Jaws does have special effects in the film, only one person handled that department. And if you compare it to today's films, where the end credits can go on for like 15 minutes with thousands of people credited in the special effects department, yet Jaws has got more going for it than a lot of more recent releases, has done things right in the genres that it sits in compared to modern day blockbusters of today. So what is it about Jaws? Well, in all honesty, for me personally, I don't remember the first time I saw Jaws. Like, the first time I owned Jaws was on a VHS copy in the early 90s. And I'd already seen that film. I must have seen it on TV back in the day in America. And I don't really remember the first time I saw it. It's a bit weird, because it's a film that I watch almost every year in the summer. It's got that summer vibe because it's set in the summer. And it's one film that just feels to me like a summer movie, so I watch it almost every year in the summer. And yet I don't remember the first time I watched it for some strange reason. I do remember the first time I saw Jurassic Park like it was yesterday. Now, Jaws was written based on a book by Peter Benchley, and the screenplay was adapted by Carl Gottlieb, who also starred in the film as well. It runs 124 minutes, and many of the releases over the years have actually been cut in the PAL regions. But Jaws considering how many releases it's had over the years, is probably one of the only few films that has never been altered from its original theatrical showing. There are plenty of special editions and anniversary editions, but none of them include new footage, changed effects, or updated CGI effects. The film has been retained from what people saw in the theaters right up to the new 50th anniversary 4K Blu-ray releasing next month. This is one of the films that sits in a world of changed editions, yet remains on its own unchanged. The only changes that have happened are the picture quality, and sound has been upgraded in terms of the musical score and certain sound effects given when it came out in certain formats, spreading the original mono or stereo track that was played in theaters. I do believe there was also a 70mm print that had a 6-track, but it was basically a stereo. Everybody who saw this film originally in the cinema would have either seen it in mono or stereo, and that is pretty much what got transferred to the initial first home media release. Now, believe it or not, it wasn't on VHS initially. In 1978, Discovision released Jaws on Laserdisc, and that was Jaws' very first home media release. It came from a transfer that was scanned at 1,000 lines per frame and the mono soundtrack, and it was available on like a 5-disc set. And it also, in 1980, came out on VHS. Now, from that point on up until about 1995, it has had many different releases. There was stereo releases, widescreen releases, both on VHS and Laserdisc. But it wasn't until 1994 that Steven Spielberg, because of George Lucas, who had done this to his own Star Wars trilogy film, went back to the negatives and scanned them in 2K and created a digital intermediate on the PC, and was able to remaster the film. Now, Jaws has only ever been remastered twice in its life. The first time, when it got put to VHS and Laserdisc, can't really call that a remaster. It's had one transfer, but then 2 remasters following it, and that is it. So in 1995, a 2K scan was then placed on Laserdisc. Now, there's 2 editions of this box set. This is the limited signature edition collection. There was also a signature collection which looked identical to this, except it didn't have the limited edition at the top, and it just had the film with the artwork inside this box. But then a year later got re-released into this set. I believe this is what they actually wanted to release at the time. Now, it contains a wealth of extras. It also contains a remastered, upgraded soundtrack in digital stereo surround. So taking that stereo or mono sound from the cinema and upgrading it digitally into a stereo matrixed surround for the very first time. Now, this comes with loads of extras which have been ported over across the different releases. And if we open this sucker up, inside you've got a beautiful brochure almost, of the original theatrical poster. Now, this shark, which was created by one person in terms of the artwork, is a photograph of a real life shark from a museum. The person who created this artwork went to a museum and photographed loads of different sea creatures, and this was hanging or lying on the floor as it is in this photo. And took a picture of it and then created the artwork from this. So this shark is a true life real shark, and then obviously created the artwork which became the poster, the jacket for the releases, and the iconic artwork for the film. And it's got a cool picture of a real life shark, probably taken by Ron and Valerie in Australia. When you open it up, it's got beautiful artwork spread across many different pages. Steven Spielberg's signature, some pictures, production here, and the chapter listings for the film as well as the chapter listings for the 2-hour documentary that was included on this set. It also includes deleted scenes and outtakes. It also has a list on the back of what is in here. Steven Spielberg's home movies, 1995 video interviews, never before seen live footage shot by Ron and Valerie, theatrical trailers, storyboards and production photographs, and original advertising and marketing for the film. This set became the Uber set at the time of its release and cost a lot of money compared to the previous edition of this set, which didn't cost as much money. Now, another thing that this fantastic set comes with, which the other set lacked, if we move past the films in this set, underneath that you get the book by Peter Benchley, which I will do a review of in the future, and the soundtrack by John Williams. This, I mean, this one's still sealed, so I haven't actually listened to that, but I did make a backup copy of it. So, or from a backup copy, I have put it actually on CD so I can listen to it. And, I mean, this is a fantastic set. For any Laserdisc lover or film collector, this is a really nice set to have. Personally, I don't have a Laserdisc player just yet, but when I do, I will be firing this bad boy up. Now, the film on this set was, like I said, remastered from a 2K scan. And this was the highest fidelity version, you know, at the time of its release in 1995. And again, it got re-released quite a few times leading up to 2010, which includes on DVD and Blu-ray. I've also got the soundtrack for Jaws, which on vinyl record, I mean, this is the original pressing, mint condition, looks absolutely beautiful, and sounds amazing. But this is obviously the original recording of this soundtrack. That box set that I just showed you doesn't actually contain the original music. It was re-recorded by John Williams for that release. So if you have a VHS copy, you've got the original theatrical version of the score mixed in with the film, but they re-recorded the score for this release so they could have a higher fidelity version. When I listen to this score here, it does sound a slightly different in terms of timbre and in terms of the quality of the recording from what is actually on that Laserdisc. Now, like I said, you know, fast forward to 2010, in between 1995 and 2010, there were other releases. Both Region 1, Region 2 had multiple editions, a 20th anniversary, a 25th anniversary, a 30th anniversary of Jaws on DVD. Now, the extras, sadly, on this are a little bit lacking, but are a basic port over from the Laserdisc. The main difference is that the documentary on the DVD versions only is 50 minutes from that 2-hour edition, and it's called Spotlight on Location, as opposed to the behind the scenes. I think it says here, though it doesn't give it a name, but it's a 2-hour documentary on that one. But on here, it's been cut down. Now, this version is the DTS version, so they obviously took that stereo surround and they created a DTS surround for this anniversary collector's edition. But the master that this comes from is the exact same scan master as the Laserdisc comes from. It's just in a higher resolution. The same elements are in this film are on the Laserdisc as well. Now, it wasn't until 2012. So all the releases up until 2012 were stemming from the same master. In 2010, again, because of George Lucas, he did this to his Star Wars films for a Blu-ray release. Steven Spielberg was able to go back to the negatives again, scan them in 4K for a full-on restoration job of Jaws, creating a 4K digital intermediate now, which had new color timing, cleaned up negatives. I probably did a cinema trip as well, you know, in the theaters, and gave the soundtrack a new 7.1 surround DTS track. And that is exactly what is on this Blu-ray the 2012 Region 2 edition. Now, if you have Jaws Region 2 up until 2010 on DVD, you've got a cut version missing about 5 or 6 minutes, sadly, of that film. All the Region 1s are the same length as the Laserdisc and this Blu-ray. This UK Blu-ray is the first time the uncut version of Jaws was able to be seen on home media in the UK. And the extras on here are a port-up of that Laserdisc. It includes the 2-hour documentary, not the 50-minute version, all the deleted scenes, storyboards, a BBC documentary called From the Set, an insider's look at life on the set of Jaws, which only aired on the BBC in the UK, as well as the marketing, the phenomenon, the restoration, a in-depth look at the intricate process of restoring the film, and a brand new documentary called The Shark is Still Working, The Impact and Legacy of Jaws. Now, the transfer on this version is from that 4K transfer that they, or 4K scan that they did. The picture on this, and I got screenshots, is absolutely perfect. It is a minor upgrade over the previous DVD and Laserdisc. The same elements are in these two films. The only difference between these two differences and the Laserdisc is a increase in white luminance and color, and that is it. You have the exact same cut, the exact same picture, and the exact same detail within each frame. So basically, obviously, if you've got a 1080p screen, the Blu-ray is going to look perfect, and the DVD is going to look a little bit blurry probably. But the it's pretty much an identical, look picture. The 4K scan obviously picks up a lot more detail, but there's only so much detail in a 35mm frame element, so it can't pick up what ain't there really. Now, this new 4K digital intermediate was also released in a 100th anniversary edition from Universal, a 70s edition, and also in 2020 a 4K edition of Jaws. The exact same master that they scanned 10 years prior in 2010 was used for the 2020 and the 2023 edition, which was the 45th anniversary, I believe, and now the 50th anniversary. All the 4K discs stem from the exact same scan as all the Blu-rays do. So really, for me, I will get that 50th anniversary and I'll do a review on it, but I have seen screenshots of and footage from a 4K transfer of this, and I gotta say, it's basically identical to the Blu-ray. The only difference between the 4K version and the Blu-ray is a slight smidgen raise in luminance values and color, and that is it. There is no difference between the picture detail. The grain is still present on here as much as it is on the 4K release. Luckily, Spielberg didn't scrub it with AI and give everybody a waxy look. But the luminance values of the new 4K releases and the color values, which are expanded because of the HDR and the 4K format, are slightly higher than what you see on this Blu-ray. So it looks like a minor improvement, but is it really worth a 30 to 40 quid price tag if you already have that Blu-ray? I would say no. I'm going to get it because it comes with that new documentary that's coming on Disney Plus. That's really the only reason I'm buying the 4K Blu-ray. So I'll have a 4K version of it, which will come with a Blu-ray, which is this Blu-ray. So I'm really only gaining that documentary because everything else is included on this version. I think this version is fantastic looking compared to the Laserdisc. Compared to the DVD, it's just a minor upgrade because this looks like a Blu-ray on my setup. And the Blu-ray, I imagine, is what is exactly the 4K is going to look like on my setup. So that's basically all the home media releases. It's had so many releases, and yet Steven Spielberg has never really messed with the transfer in terms of adding new effects. There's no walkie-talkies, there's no blinking Ewoks. He hasn't added in digital rocks, or digital sharks in there. This is one of those rare films that is unaltered from the theatrical version back in 1975, being the first summer blockbuster. But why is it so popular? Why does it hit a core with everyone? Why is this film, touted by filmmakers of today's generation as their inspiration and motivation for getting into filmmaking? Well, for me, it's not really down to Steven Spielberg. Like, it is and it isn't. Steven Spielberg led the hunt, as it were, for the finish of this film, and was up against, as everyone knows, the elements of the actual open ocean, making the decision to film it in the ocean rather than in stages or in tanks in a studio. Up against the elements. And so obviously things didn't go right, and therefore he had to improvise. And it's those improvisations which show the genius of the man, but also really helped the film help build up that tension, because you don't see the shark until the end of the film, really. It's building all this atmosphere all the way, rather than just going in and showing you everything. And he even states in a lot of documentaries that if the shark was working and, he had shown it from the beginning, it wouldn't be half the success that it is. And that is so true. This film is so suspenseful and so building up the tension that by the time it explodes with the jaws, you are there, hooked and gripped, ready for that jaws to be taken down by, Brody. It's like, this film does so many things right, but most of it was done by either accident or somebody else's doing, like the John Williams score. Imagine this film either without any music or a completely different theme. The music in this was utilized in such a way where, you didn't even have to have the jaws on the screen, because the music is there, and then he's there, and it goes, ooh, the shark's about, because the music's going boom, 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 boom. But then sometimes he'll fake you out and not show you, oh, no, Jaws isn't there, I was just messing. John Williams, the music in this film, has done an absolute blinder. Most recognizable theme. This soundtrack is 50% of the film's tension and atmosphere, and goes towards, I think, why it's such a classic. It's such a simple score. You're listening to literally like the heartbeat of the shark. Dun, and then as it gets closer to the kill, it's dun 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 dun. The music in this is absolutely stellar, and it's so simplistic. But I think the reason why it resonates with everybody around the world is because we're all human, and we're all afraid of the deep, water at the end of the day. We all are land animals, not sea dwellers, and so all have this curiosity / fear of what is in that ocean, and how easy it is to succumb to the jaws of death. It hits on a human emotional level, playing on our fear, and really has all the cliches that have come, those tropes in horror films. This film is embedded with those cliches, but they're not cliche. The jump scare scene in this film still gets me, even though I know it's coming. And, you see jump scares in later films, and they're like, nah, that's just a jump scare. But these for me, there's only really one or two jump scares, but they are like integral almost, to the story, rather than just being thrown in as a jump scare. I think the reason why this film has such a great following is because the story is so simple, and in all honesty, if you think about it, it's got every sort of story within it. It's got the hero's journey of Brody. It's got the good versus evil of the shark and the townspeople. It's got the revenge story of Quint. It's got every storyline embedded and woven in with the story. It's got the evil emperor mayor who just wants his town to succeed and doesn't really care, and it's got that sort of nobody believes his theory Hooper. It's got every storyline embedded with this, but it's so simple in its execution. It's so easy to follow. You're always there with the story, never going, oh, I don't know what's happening, man. This is like Christopher Nolan. Like, what's going on? You know, it's never like that. It's so simple, and you're just focused on the tension, you know, and it builds you up towards the end, gives you a happy ending as well, makes you go, yeah, even though it's totally unbelievable. You know, you're still going, yeah. Like, this film, if anything, if you take a look at the special effects, the writing, the story, the acting, the music, every element that makes up this film is a case test study for filmmakers. You know, if you want to learn how to write a great story, look at the script for Jaws. If you want to learn how to do some great acting, either, you know, with the foreground versus the background, look at Jaws. If you want to learn how to score a music, you know, listen to John Williams' interviews. He will basically tell you how. Like, this film, on every single level that is woven into this film, is just a masterclass of filmmaking. And I think that is why it is, like, pretty much is everybody's #1 film pick in, like, the horror genre, the suspense genre, the thriller genre. Like, it's the best film about a shark at sea, or a film maybe set at sea. You know, like, this is my favorite summer blockbuster movie to watch. I watch it. It's the only one I watch every year. Well, actually, I watch Titanic every April as well. So, but that's basically because of the date of the event. You know, this one I choose to watch because it's the summer. It feels like a summer, and I think that's why it has so much staying power. You know, it vaulted Spielberg into the stratosphere, where he could go, right, well, I'll make what I want now, and not what I have to, you know. And he's knocked out belters since then. But yeah, I thought I'd do this video as it's a special, you know, it's a special one. This is like in my top 10. If I had to pick a top 10 film, this is in there. In fact, I'm going to do a future video where I do my favorite directors, go through some of their films, and pick a top 10 favorite film list. I mean, that's going to be mega hard. From thousands that I love, how can you pick just 10? You know, it's like choosing your favorite child. So, but I will do that. I will compile a top 10 list of films, and another video, like all my favorite directors. There's only about 11 or 12 of them, to be fair. So, yeah, anyway, thank you so much for watching this 50th anniversary special edition, collector's edition of Jaws review. And join me in the future for more film reviews. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.